to my channel 30-day manifestation challenge and day 1 meditation course recap. I'm really a little bit panicked because, and I'll tell you why, oh, wait, is the face tracking on? That means I should just follow. How far will it follow? If I just walk here, will it follow me this way? Oh, what? We can go anywhere. Why have I not been just roaming around, constantly moving this whole time filming these? Okay, so good. I'm a little bit nervous because I need to go soon. One of the homework tasks for the course was that I had to make 3 new friends, which is like have, 5-minute conversations with people that I don't know. I can't tell you how much that is a push for me. I mean, yes, I'm in a country that's not my own, so I guess that's part of it. But I would say even if I was home, that would be an extreme push. Maybe it's even actually easier like being away from home. I don't know, but I really want to try. I really want to try to like do the homework, so I will have to leave soon. The course is like maybe a 30-40 minute ride away, and then to allow time to actually see them. And then I was late yesterday. Oh, talk about a test of like, where are you at in your own ability to cope with change and instability and uncertainty and problems as they arise? I got dropped off at the first location, then looked at the map and was like, well, I was like taking all these beautiful images, maybe insert here. No, I'm not going to insert them. I'm sorry. It's just so hard while I'm just got my laptop to edit. But like sunset by the water, and then got dropped off. I was like, well, it's this like really industrial area. And then as the Grab driver was driving away, I was like looking at the maps thinking, what? How can that be right? I'm still 15 minutes away from the place. And I just got there with enough time because they were like, please get there early, blah, blah, blah. Then I drove again. And the reason is because in the Grab app, when you put in the address, it's not straightforward. It doesn't just let you put in coordinates. It wants to like be like, what location or business are you referring to here? And because of my poor understanding of like Vietnamese street signage and directories and whatever, anyway, I was like half an hour late. It was not good. But it was such a positive experience that I feel like I will talk a little bit in maybe a little bit more detail at the end of the 3 sessions. There's only 3. But for session 1, I was glad of a couple of things. I was glad to be the only white person in the room. By that I just mean, I think the certain kind of like experience of seeing other people like me, because we dislike in others what we like in ourselves, right? But sort of my like judgy wudgy set of default operating system can kind of get very eye-rolly. And having been in, I don't know, lots of different classes, not meditation, but just different things, arts experiences, Pilates, yoga, whatever, I can think of times where even like a New Year's intention kind of setting workshop a few years ago, being like, okay, I can get into this. There's a few exercises here that are a bit uncomfortable. I can get it. And then there's just like neck minute, breath work, someone just wailing on the floor next to you. And you're like, oh, okay. I get very out of my own body and am very aware of like, oh, is everyone okay around me? Because there seems like a lot of not okay going on. The other thing so the reason that I feel like I appreciate doing this in Vietnam, I don't know how different it would be doing it at home in Australia, but there is just much like a white person's experience of being in lots of places in Southeast Asia, there is a kind of sense of like, just get on with it. And I'm noting that like I want to try and cultivate and gather and be in some more experiences that I think play to my ability level and preference. I think within the arts, there's a lot of accommodations and accessibility all the time, and it's really important. And certainly I think because I've spent more time teaching than doing in the last maybe 10 years, I feel like I am very attuned to the idea of like everyone must have an entry point, everyone must be catered to. We have to work at the ability that the whole group can work at. And that is really important. I find as a participant, though, that often makes me feel a little bit like under capacity, and it makes me feel a little bit like, even if we're doing something, a gentle warm-up or something physical, but we're catering it to the lowest level of ability in the room, it suddenly feels like I'm a little bit more like I don't know, I can think of a group process and a particular set of people that I've worked with before as a participant. And when for some people getting up and down off the floor is a kind of warm-up, and that is them getting working, or when people at the end of a warm-up say, oh, that was a lot, and I think, no, it wasn't for me. I sort of need a bit more. I'm just aware that in amongst what might sound as an anti or a very ableist kind of like lens, potentially, I just need to find my own experiences that are pushing me to my capacity. And there's something about this course already that's very like direct, forthright, that is expecting a lot. And I really appreciate that. And I respond well to that. I think it's why I responded well to Clown School in France, because it's direct, abrasive, sharp, really pushing so hard and expecting more. And I think of other settings where I've thrived under that. I feel like, I was talking a video or two ago about like needing to kind of settle in to Vietnam or being on holidays, and that's really occurred. I really have like taken the pressure off what I should be doing, and have started just feeling like, I'm just doing what I want to do. That's what you can do. And I think, like so much, that self-inflicted expectation comes from origin stories, and growing up around a kind of set of mentalities that are like, don't waste anything, make sure you make the most of it, this isn't going to happen again, so make sure you make the most of it, rather than what is my reality as an adult, which is not, this is my one chance, so you better do, even if you're tired and don't want to do this tour or something, do it, okay? Because you will never come back here again. This is your one shot. Where it's like, well, that was my parents' experience of international travel, and I'm really grateful that that's not mine. But I think this is my fourth time in Vietnam, if I include the kind of 24-hour stopover at the start of the year. And it's a reminder that it's like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. You can't do everything anyway. But like, there's other chances, and do what feels good and what you want to do. I remember the first travel that I did by myself, which was only to Bali, but I was like 19 or 20 maybe, and it was a very big deal as someone who'd only ever been to New Zealand, and that with my family as a kid, and that was it. And just on that trip, I just remember the kind of pressure of like, buy souvenirs, go do everything, don't waste money, don't be conned, don't spend really carefully, but think about what you're doing, but make sure that you like. It was a very stressful experience, and I need to remember that I'm actually really good at traveling and I know what I'm doing. So I feel like I'm here. And then also I think what helped is that just getting back into the rhythm of making some videos. I just put one up before, whatever, but more specifically 2 brand videos that I got finished and sent off to the brands for approval. And one might think, oh, but it's holidays. What is holidays? You shouldn't be working. But that's what I want to do. It's not work in the sense of like, I don't know, I've brought some grant applications of a funding round that I'm administering that I have to look over with me. No, yuck. I love making videos, and so that's what I made. That's what I did. And as I was doing it, I was even like, I love the challenge of making videos in a foreign country. That's so fun to me. So that was really good. And then I think that exercise of like, oh yeah, we can just move, right? Yeah, you'll follow. Yeah. I think that exercise of, oh, hello, Belly. I think that exercise of the future kind of letter, video, whatever, from myself was really interesting for a number of reasons. I think it forces, I think for me, what I'm learning is that the energy behind the desire to learn and practice and master manifestation is one thing. I think I have that in spadefuls, bucket loads. But I think also that I actually am a little less clear than I think I am on what my goals are and what are the things that I want to attract. I feel like I have some senses of the feelings, but then when it comes to it, even in this course last night, like one of the first questions was like, what do you want? What do you what do you want in your life? And I could smash out a list, but then I was like, they gave the example of like, be specific. If it's a car, assume that like you need the maximum specificity. Assume that that you will receive a toy car if you're not specific about what type of car. And I really appreciated that jump to be like, yeah, what is strong, fit, and healthy mean? What is a monetary amount? What is a nice house or home? What is an audience? What is time to create? What is, and anyway, I won't spend too much time on the course yet because I know nothing and I've only just started. But I came home. I appreciated that there was really firm homework as well. Don't eat meat, vegetarian meals only, no tea or coffee. Don't go home and go to bed. Basically, don't scroll on your phone or stay up. Or preferably don't eat or eat something light. And then, a few other things. But I came home and I really consciously didn't do screen time, which I've been getting into a really, really, really bad habit of like going to sleep with something playing, either music, a podcast, that's happening a lot the last couple of weeks. And I really consciously didn't do that last night. I came home, I had a shower, brushed my teeth, got ready for bed. I just had to check what time the thing was happening today. And then went to bed. And my mind, I didn't fall asleep straight away, right? But I sat there, or like lay there in bed, and was just like looking at the ceiling, and then a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit like, I wish I was just like passed out of sleep. But then it felt really like nostalgic. I felt this sense of like being a child and being in bed, growing up in a time where I didn't have I didn't have devices. Well, like maybe there was a time when I got a Game Boy Color when I was like 13 or 14 or something like that. But before that, there was no screens to watch in bed, right? And so you would just like sit there kind of like looking around or read a book or something. And I was sitting there, lying there last night, just like thinking. And then I think that space of not just kind of numbing with the screen allowed me to spend, I don't know because I didn't look at the time, but it felt like maybe 45 minutes, an hour before I actually fell asleep. But I started to like really, really get specific about some kind of manifesting, visioning, imagining, detail bringing level of imagery in my head. And I really had a good time. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't just like journeying down a deep kind of rabbit hole of like, oh, I'm so zen and everything is just like I'd get distracted and then I'd think about other things and then I'd think about something someone said and a person and and then I'd come back to it again and then I'd just like keep going and be like, oh yeah, what does my bedroom look like? What does my studio or a dedicated room for filming look like? What is the next gig look like? What is it like being on a set? What is it like working with this person? What is it like pitching my work to a funder? What is it? And the more time that I spent with that, the more it's like, oh, I want to spend more time in this kind of like little world, like fleshing this out. So that was a kind of, I don't know, maybe intentional, maybe not, kind of part of the course. It's too early for me to say, and I know nothing, but I really liked that. Oh, cripes, I've got to go. Oh, I feel sick at the idea of making friends. Oh, I feel sick. I feel so sick. I've been doing good stretching, good eating, of course, but that's just Vietnam. I mean, like sugary drinks. And I've just ditched the kind of running idea, which means I really sort of bought shoes for nothing, but they weren't, they're kind of like fakies, so I think it's fine. I mean, it's not fine in the sense, just it's fine. The other thing that I did, because I was just thinking about like, okay, how do we up this like love luxury thing, right? Like I think collaborations is one angle. The other angle that everyone kind of begs for is going to the store, which I would be open to. I don't know that they're going to be open to necessarily. And then I was like, what would be an offer that they couldn't refuse? I reckon if I genuinely was there to either buy or sell. And then secondly, I was like, well, I don't know. Lots of other thoughts came to mind. But just on that. And then so I was like, imagine if I had a little like plot line where, what if I actually buy a Birkin, a real Birkin or whatever, Hack Rock. I don't particularly want them. I have enough bags in my life. In fact, I'm trying to get rid of bags all the time. In Vietnam, everyone loves to put things in plastic bags, and I'm always trying to be like, no, it's fine, thinking as though me, one person in amongst the sea of bubble teas, walking down the street in the little cute little plastic satchel is going to make any difference. I will say this, when I was in Taiwan last year, I really dug how committed everyone is to their kind of reusable bubble tea carrier, but also Taiwan. I mean, bubble tea is part of the kind of cultural identity there, so they know how to make it and carry it. But they're just everywhere here in Vietnam too, so it just surprises me that there's not a stronger culture of the little drinks holders. Anyway, so I went there's an Hermes store here, and I went in. The first Hermes store I've ever been into in my life. And something about just feeling like holiday free, unbounded in this kind of chapter of life and being like, why not? I thought maybe I could try and make a video, and I was like, I felt a bit embarrassed and I don't want to film people without their permission and that sort of thing. So I went to the door. I know enough about the kind of mythology to know that you've got to kind of present as a real deal buyer, and like they block you and say, sorry, do you have an appointment? And I said, no, I don't. And then she said, yeah, you sort of need an appointment. I said, okay, can I make one for tomorrow? She's like, no, tomorrow's no go. It was all like it's very odd and feels very deceitful on their part, because I'm like, what? And then I said, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. I was like, I'm not going to hang around, because she said something about waiting. And then she said, what are you interested in? To which I was like, well, that's an odd question. If you've got no appointments, it shouldn't matter you know what I mean? So I said, I'm looking for men's bags, in particular the Hack Rock. Said with the confidence of someone who has said that a million times, but only through the lens of a parody recreation. Not someone who spent any time on an Hermes site pining over any of the overpriced whatever. And then so they led me in. I got to meet a sales assistant who gave me her details if I ever need anything. And then she was telling me that, like, yeah, I need an account before I could, like look at coming up with looking at showing my interest in a bag. And I said, oh, well, can I just have a look while I'm here? She's like, yeah, what, is there anything you're after? I was like, oh, yeah, a wallet. Like, I'd really like a wallet. And then there was a really nice wallet. I should show you. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There's like a long one. And I was like, I wonder, this is so nice. It feels great. It's got like a nice compartment. It's got a beautiful little clasp. I was like, I could see myself having, using that. And then in my mind, I was like, not really, because I don't use a wallet. I have my phone and I just stuff any random change in the front pocket of my backpack whenever I have that. Anyway, it was 4,800 Australian dollars. 4,800. And then in my mind, I was like this. Should I buy it? Should I buy it to get an account with Hermes? Like, don't worry. I know it's obscene. This isn't when I'm like, do I really, really need Ray-Ban Metas? Or when I'm like, do I really, really need what's something else that I recently just got fixated on? And I'm like, I have to have. Oh, there was a while that I was thinking about a Tesla, and I was just like, how could I make it work? And then ultimately, it's like, wait, Kyle, you don't want that. You just want to scratch some sort of consumerist little itch. So I didn't buy it. Obviously, I would have started with that if I had have. But I've just been thinking about it. I said to the sales assistant, whatever, I was like, I'm here for a few more days, so I'll be back in touch. I may not be, but I thought, is that content? Is that usable content? Or on the path to getting a burger, or similarly to the Pilates thing, like, is it the stretch goal I need? The Pilates thing is already feeling a bit like, I feel like I've already got it. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it's going to happen. But I don't have, and I think it's because I set this up really weirdly in that I'm saying like money and where's the money come from, and it's got to be separate from my other sources, but my other sources are changing all the time anyway, and blah, blah, blah. And so I was just thinking like, do I buy a $5,000 wallet just to kind of progress the Hermes relationship of potentially being offered a bag? The problem is I'd have to come back to Vietnam to purchase the bag. But then ultimately, if that can lead towards the season finale of me going to Love Luxury to sell a real Birkin, interesting. Anyway, I think the answer is probably not, because even as I like tipped the Grab driver, the one last night who I finally convinced to take me to the right location when I just had to show my phone and be like, I'm so sorry, this isn't the right location. This is driver number 3. And as I tipped him, I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? $5? And just thinking like, he'd said 20,000 or something like that. And I was just thinking, as in dong, Vietnamese dong, and just thinking like, money has such greater value when applied in different settings. And imagine if I gave $5,000 to that person, a Grab driver, who I feel a bit ick when I think about how cheap the kind of Grabs are around, even with tip. I don't know. It sort of baffles me what the economics of that all are for a person. Okay, wouldn't it be great to do both? Buy an Hermes bag and help people? I think we can. So I'm feeling good. I'm really leaning into the kind of mind magic chapter at the moment, as we're making progress there, about feeling good. The idea, I can't remember what else is in that. But then I also, just some other stuff online, just like really harboring positive emotions. And I think that was a little pit that I was in, right? Like you probably watched a little mopey YouTube from the second last one. And I think it's just ego. All that stuff about my looks and the past. My friend Nadia said it so beautifully, and I'm just so grateful, which was that me going back and looking at my videos before Love Luxury, it's not fair for a couple of reasons. I worked out for myself, it's like, the reason that none of those are, that I look at them and I'm like, oh, they're great, much like I do with the Love Luxury ones. So that, did I already say this? That they're not scripted, they're not thought through, there's no production around them. I don't source props or costumes. I don't spend time, filming it carefully with multiple takes. I don't then edit it together into one cohesive thing. And that's fine. It's also like, I'm not the kind of like matcha sipping girly who can just flip on the camera at the kitchen counter and like, let's make a matcha and look cute and go. Because that girly isn't also just flipping on the camera and going. There's a whole lighting setup and a lot of self-consciousness about that. But I think also with that, intrinsically, is an agreement of a lifetime of self-consciousness. The type of person that wears Lululemon and can feel confident flipping on the camera and just pressing go is the type of person that incessantly has spent a lot of time on their looks and sculpting their image for the camera, in which I just haven't. And that's like, I'm really happy to not. Like, I'm good at what I do, and they're different things. And yeah, I sort of like eased up on that. But the thing my friend Nadia said was like, going and beating yourself up about that would be like looking at the finger paintings you did as a child and being like, oh, what? This idiot can't even draw. That doesn't even look like a sun, you stupid idiot. This is so messy. You can't even you put the Y around the wrong way as well. And also that doesn't even look like an E in your name. So like as a child, you're just doing your best, right? You're just doing your best with what you have. And so it's like, same, you know? Odd. But I want to get my ego out of that and just be like, oh, don't dwell. It doesn't feel good. So don't go to those thoughts. Let's not think those thoughts. So let's not have those feelings. Feels pretty straightforward. Let's see how we go. I've got to go make friends. Oh, God. What am I going to do? Go to a cafe, talk to people. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to go up to them and be like, hey, I'm doing a course where I have to meet new people. Could I just say hello and just ask you about yourselves? It'd be great if it was more organic than that, but I don't think... well, maybe it is. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'll report back later. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. And goodbye.